capacity to position Trinidad as a major global player. I mean, those, I suppose, inside the energy sector know that Trinidad has a very substantial global reputation, and our companies do compete globally, actually. And so I think there's a lot of potential to work with not the foreign multinationals, who are the ones who, with the companies that come in and actually do the extraction, but the companies that sit around, those about 200 companies that service that sector, extremely innovative, working at a global standard, world-class standards, and finding new ways to solve problems every day. And I think part of the opportunity that we have is to take those ideas, those solutions, and really provide them with a global market. Because the new things that are done, my understanding is that those new methods, those new mechanisms, tools, and so forth, are globally new. It's not just new to Trinidad. It's like actually creating something completely brand new, which could be used equally in sub-Saharan Africa. So I think that there's a massive opportunity in that sector. And there's some work going on actually through the university with the Energy Chamber to explore those opportunities and see how we could, help to shape the future of the energy services sector. I can't say any more about that.
So to just sum up that, I have nothing else to add. It's two things. Why not you? Yes, you have Chinese and Scottish and all kinds of things. But why not you? You're not good enough? And two, in the Energy Chamber, it's not just a source of information. It's a place of like-minded individuals, I hope like you, saying, but we could do that too, and in fact we could do it better. So try and form the linkage. Call Dax Driver. He's the CEO of the Energy Chamber.
Just to add one thing to that, I mean, I think one of the things we have to look for and identify clearly is the south-to-south competitive advantage. I think there's some things which a south-based company, i.e. developing world company, can offer to another developing world context, which a multinational or international company might not. And I don't know what it is, but we have to look at that.
You understand how to live in the Wild West, where things don't always work the way they should. But anyway.
And it was mentioned by somebody that we have a tremendous global reputation within the energy sector, including the energy services sector. Look to leverage on that collectively, not necessarily individually. Collaboration, international collaboration is important, but look to actually collaborate locally and promote. The selling point is Trinidad and what Trinidad has achieved. You can actually leverage on that significantly.
Okay, there are actually 3 more questions, so I'm going to put 2 of them into one. One is a comment. Both of them are actually comments. So the first one is with regards to the innovation index. Now, the Innovation Index spoke to 4 areas, which Trinidad is basically not doing well in. I remember 3, which is work ethic, the crime situation, and the other one was something to do with either infrastructure or social systems or something like that. So the person's question is that how do we get everyone on board and move forward, given the fact that these things keep reoccurring all the time? And the second part of the question deals more with how do we, as a society, knowing what we know and having the resources that we have, and I'm paraphrasing, take what we already know to satisfy the needs extra-regional and globally, because we have competencies, and I think Mr. Lockjack spoke about them when he spoke about the export thrust outside of Trinidad and Tobago that has been going on, and Mr. Lewis also articulated it with regards to his father and dealing with Scotiabank. So how do we basically, in essence, stop talking and start doing more in terms of addressing these issues, one, and also in terms of exporting the services that we already have to the bigger global markets?
That question is so complex, I'm not sure where to start. So let me just take one little piece of it. It's a fool's errand to try and get everybody on board. You're not going to do that, nor do you really want that. Innovation thrives from diversity. What you really want is not everybody on board. What you want is a sufficient critical mass. And depending on what you're trying to do, and depending on the capital requirements, the critical mass could vary. But if you could find enough like-minded people who say, let's give it a try, you are already in an environment where one of the value systems of being a Trinidadian is, oh God, give them a chance now. I have been to, and some of you have been to other cultures where that is not an operating value system. It is very real here. And it's opportunity to try. And even when you see a bus, fellas, they give fatigue, but they give you another chance. So find like-minded individuals. You're not trying to convert the world. You're just trying to create enough space so you could move.
I'll just say that, the bureaucracy and the different issues we have in our countries, and so certainly lends also business opportunities. The crime, for instance, okay, while it impacts all of business, the security firms seem to be popping up on every corner. I mean, massive business. I don't know where they get people from, how they fund it. Poor work ethic. If I were to ask how many people or how many businesses are investing heavily in training on customer service, instead of sitting down and just saying, well, and you go around and there are pockets of great customer service in Trinidad, or I'd say at 90% of the time. And when you get that bad experience, you say, well, this is really unusual, and maybe they had a bad day. So I think that there are things at the firm level and at the opportunity level that are there. So I think that, if you had as well everything that was perfect, then you're going to have a lot more things. So as you were saying, Danny, we know how to move in the Wild West. We know how to go down there. I mean, maybe a security firm could put up a security firm in Ghana or sub-Saharan Africa and figure out how to operate there. They know how to operate in this type of dynamic, or maybe in Haiti or whatnot. But what I think the most thing is we have to see ourselves as anything we do locally, we have to figure out how to be able to franchise it and how to gross it up and keep the core values and export that as opposed to just a product, etc. And what is our real competition? I mean, our chocolates are no different and our snacks are no different than anything else out there, but how do we get it to market, and how do we export what we know? For instance, all-inclusive feds that Francis talked about. Why not pick off any cultural aspect in all of Latin America? Carnival in Brazil, whatever in Colombia, whatever in Peru, Costa Rica. I'm pretty sure there's a massive market there for all-inclusive feds. I'm pretty sure what they're doing over there, I don't know. But if that answers the question, this is...
Simple statement, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to export, if you want to grow your business and so on, it will happen. But you have to have that desire to want to do it, not to have to wait on somebody to come along and carry you in their wake. There's so many success stories in this country. It's amazing. We don't hear enough about them.
The final question, and again I will paraphrase, is basically the report alludes to us being entrepreneurial. And we have had a lot of entrepreneurial education and fostering that at all levels across the spectrum of education. So how do we get immersive innovation education across that same spectrum? Where do we start? What do we do? Can we do anything?
Well, you could start by taking a course. No, I mean, innovation is not a bright idea and suddenly off you go. Innovation is a process. And there is a way to manage the process. It's similar to a doctor. You're feeling sick, you go to a doctor. The doctor should have, most of the time they do have, a process to help identify what's wrong and therefore what's to do about it. That's the innovation process. And for God's sake, the world has beat that to death over the last 50 years. We know the process. You could research it yourself, you could come here, you could go online. But there's a process and a discipline. It's not Viking.
One of the things we're trying to do in the Department of Mechanical Engineering is every year we have maybe around 100 students, let's say, who are doing their final year projects. And those projects are design projects or projects that solve a particular problem in industry. And you get some really good ideas, actually. The students are very creative and come up with some fantastic inventions and designs, and they have to build the thing and prove that it works. Half the time it does, half the time it doesn't. But the issue I've had is like, well, what do you do with all these ideas? And say a student now, and we do have a little issue because there's a glut of mechanical engineers and engineers generally in the market. So not everybody's getting jobs, or people are getting jobs in ministries where they're not really using their engineering skills in a direct way. So there has to be an opportunity for these students now to take their idea and try and run with it and give it a shot. And so when I started, the center that we're working through about 3 years ago, there really wasn't a mechanism at all by which the student could take their idea and take it to the next stage, or find a way where they could try to develop it for 2 years or anything like that. It's difficult to get funding, difficult to get the mentorship and assistance. We are now starting to see, I have to say, a mechanism or a pathway. Like Francis was saying, there's a mechanism or like a process for innovation. So right now, if a student says, I want to take this idea further and try and turn it into a business, then we have a way we can do it. We can point them to the eye-to-eye competition, get them to apply for funding. They can be incorporated into the Career incubator, be given some mentorship, given some very good direction that those companies are getting there, and given a platform. So I think that we're getting to the stage now, if you're talking about innovation education, we're getting to a place where the mechanisms are in place to allow people to walk through the process. And I think with innovation, the only way you can learn is by doing, really. I mean, you can learn the process, the academic aspect of it, but really it's an immersive thing. You have to try it and see how it goes and try again and try again.
Okay, thank you to the audience and to the panelists for a lively debate on the need for competitiveness.